This is Pat Thatcher,
And this is Margaret Gifford.
and we're from Sotheby's International Realty.
So Margaret, if you were going to put your house on the market in the spring of 2015, what would you do right now?
You get your realtor to do a market analysis.
That's right. And hopefully you get a list of all the things you can do during the winter, so in the spring your house is picture perfect and ready to go.
You'd paint, you'd wash windows.
And declutter everything. And remember,
We have the tools to sell your house.
Wild Harbor General Store, located in historic North Falmouth Village, providing quality goods and services for 170 years. Continuing to make history with our support of FCTV's coverage of Falmouth Town Meeting.
Good evening and welcome to the December 22nd meeting of the Falmouth Board of Selectmen. And I'm going to ask us all to rise and ask the Boy Scouts who are here tonight, or if they will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So please come forward. Yes, and would you like to introduce yourselves first and tell everybody who you are?
I'm Joey. I'm Henry.
Okay, all right, let's go.
Please stand and face the American flag. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you very much.
Well done.
Okay, I'm going to take just a few minutes because to ask for a moment of silence, to remember some very special people who passed away the month of December. The first is George DeMello. George DeMello was a physician in the town of Falmouth for many, many years. His children attended the Falmouth schools. Chip Morse. I don't know how many of you knew Chip Morse, but he was very, very active in the Buzzards Bay Coalition. His wife was the chairman of the board of the Falmouth Academy. They were both very great supporters of Highfield, all during the years, as Dan knows, all during the years of the restoration of Highfield. And Veronica Zielinski. Veronica was a real town of Falmouth woman, believe me. She was very well known in the community. She worked a lot for PAL, the Police Athletic League. She used to teach CD at St. Patrick's Church. She was part of the quarterback club for the schools. She did a lot of work with the school children. She was a town meeting member for many years, and she was also a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals and the chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals for many years. And she was a true leader. She was also a very active Democrat, and I remember she held many fundraisers and campaign events for Democratic candidates, not only local candidates, but those who live locally. We don't have bipartisan elections, or we don't have partisan elections here. But she worked very hard for people like Deval Patrick when he first ran for governor, and she was a very strong and faithful Democrat and believed in the democratic values. And Kathy Norton. Kathy passed away this morning. She recently, over the last year or so, had cancer, and it was very devastating to her. Kathy was a computer science librarian at MDL, which probably you don't know what that is, and probably most of us don't, except that it was a really important job, and she helped computerize science laboratories, not only there, but for the country and for other countries around the world. She was very recognized by other countries. She traveled a great deal to everywhere, to Bali and Tunisia and Africa. I can't remember all the places that she went, but she was the one who really developed that library science collection for the laboratories. If you followed her on Twitter, every morning, as you read it, you would just laugh. You would begin your day laughing because there isn't anything that she could say that wasn't funny. She was a justice of the peace for many, many years and married more people than any priest or ministers that I have known in my whole lifetime, I think. And she married people everywhere. Wherever they wanted to be married, she was there, and she would do that. This past year, she represented the Board of Selectmen on the governing board of the Steamship Authority. And there is nothing she liked better than to have her friends call her governor, because she thought that was really cool. So her friends did call her governor. She was a real force in this community. She loved the town of Falmouth. She raised her children here. She has 4 children. And Falmouth was very, very much a part of her life. I would say that adversity was not a word in her vocabulary. There was never anything that was too tough or that would hold her back. And when she became very ill, she still continued to be that force. She continued to serve on the steamship until just this last meeting. And she would rally herself and do what she could. And she was there for all of her friends to the very end. So rest in peace, all. Thank you. So now we're going to start with the announcing the schedule for the April 2015 annual town meeting. If you would.
The Selectmen will announce the annual town meeting on Monday, December 22nd, 2014. Close the warrant Friday, January 16th, 2015. The Selectmen will vote articles and execute the warrant Monday, February 2nd. Publish the articles only Friday, February 6th. The selectmen will vote recommendations on Monday, March 16th, publish the warrant with recommendations on Friday, March 27th, and the town meeting will be held on Monday, April 13th. So moved, if that's a motion.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. I also have here a proclamation for the No Place for Hate group, and they have requested that I announce that the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast will be on January 19th, 2015, and there will be more details about that in the Enterprise, so please save the date, January 19th. I would urge you to come because it's just a really nice place to be on February 19th.
Whereas the town of Falmouth is a No Place for Hate community, and whereas the No Place for Hate program is founded on the fundamental conviction that all persons are entitled to equal protection, equal opportunity, and the enjoyment of civil rights, and whereas Nobel Peace Prize honoree Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. devoted and gave his life to equality for all people, and whereas members and friends of the Falmouth No Place for Hate program have initiated and coordinated the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. National Holiday Breakfast, and whereas Falmouth joins other Cape Cod communities and the world on this special day, and all days in recognition of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s efforts and accomplishments in making this world a better place for all people, now, therefore, we, Mary Pat Flynn, Doug Jones, Rebecca Moffett, Susan Moran, and Sam Patterson, as selectmen of the town of Falmouth, by authority vested in us, do hereby call upon citizens of Falmouth to participate in all activities related to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. National Holiday Breakfast and proclaim January 19th, 2015, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. National Holiday. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Now that we come to public comment, is there anyone who would care to speak on any matter that is not on the agenda tonight? A free ride we get tonight. Okay. So then we'll move to the minutes of the meeting of December 8th, 2014, the public session.
I have no corrections. I'll move approval of the minutes of December 8th, 2014.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. And then we have the minutes of the executive session on December 8th, 2014.
I move approval of the executive session December 8th, 2014, and vote to not release.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, now we'll move to the summary of actions. The first is a request for a grant of license. This is a property that is on Falmouth Heights. The address is 155 Grand Avenue, and sometimes occasions arise when property has been landscaped in a certain way that may not totally fit the code, but yet is very tasteful and is very appropriate, and the town doesn't have issues with it. And this is the case with this property on Grand Avenue. So we have we've referred the request to council, and Frank Duffy has prepared a license agreement, and I think you've had it, and it's very short. It's only about a page and a half long. So is there anyone who would care to make a motion to approve this license? And then we can discuss.
I move that we approve this license for the property at the corner of Grand Avenue and Nantucket Avenue.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, discussion? Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
I think we perhaps can say thank you for helping to improve the overall appearance of our roadways, since this is at their expense.
That's right. And it was very, very tastefully done, and it was pointed out to us that it doesn't encroach upon the roadway, but it's cobblestones. But because of where it is, it's on a road that is probably one of the less traveled roads, I would say, because unless you have a home there, you don't go there, because it has no ending in that sense. So, thank you very much. Thank you, Dan, for bringing that to us. So next are the administrative orders, and the first is to approve a beach department expenditure from the casino donation account in the amount of $8,187.21. And I think you have here a breakdown of what those costs have been. Some relate to work that was done by our supplies provided by Wood Lumber, and also work done by the county sheriff.
I just want to comment, this is a handicap ramp that's been a long time coming at the Falmouth Heights Beach. And I know there's been a great deal of interest in having this happen, and I'm thrilled that it is happening. And at a cost that's actually quite reasonable because of the use of the Barnstable County Sheriff's work and some of the donations.
Right, and I think too, it's also good to point out that some of the handicap ramps that have been put in by others, like the ramp over at New Silver, or Old Silver rather. That was put in by donations from the Veterans Group. And the Falmouth Military Support Group helped to get funds for that handicap ramp. So it's really great that we have those, and they really enhance the, I think, the desire of people to come to our beaches because they are so accessible. So
I would move to approve the expenditure of $8,187.21.
is there a second? Any discussion? Becky?
I'd like to add to that we now have the equipment that people can get into a seat that has the large wheels that will take the people right into the water, and many people, because of being handicapped, have not been able to go into the water, into the ocean. So I think if we have another ramp and those, I guess carts.
Chairs.
Chairs.
Yeah, like beach chairs, I think they're called.
Yeah, well, that's good. It's quite large.
They are quite.
But they definitely are, I think it's very good that Falmouth, I think, have two. There's two of them. So now we have the ramp and we have the equipment so that people can enjoy the water.
Okay, next we have.
Well, I don't think we voted
Oh, we
yet.
didn't vote yet, sorry.
But that's all right.
Go ahead, Sam.
But I do think we should acknowledge the contributions of all of these various parties in helping to make this happen, because it's really their generosity that's allowing us to do this. So thank you.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. And now we have the first of the polar plunges. This one is going to take place on at Old Silver Beach on January 31st. Oh, I don't have that. Oh, here it is, sorry. Next is to authorize the town manager to grant a 6-month extension on a memorandum of understanding with the EDIC on the town landfill. As many of you know, the EDIC has been working to develop a solar project at the landfill, and it's taking a lot more time and effort than I think they may have anticipated. So they're asking if they can have 6 months more to continue to pursue that effort, and that's what this is.
And just quickly, part of the effort, there are certain steps that are required to prove that the project would be viable in terms of being able to use the electricity that's generated. And so there's a lot of work that's being done now with the power company to make that happen. And, the members of the EDIC have been really stalwart in pushing this forward and doing just a good job with their research, and we're very optimistic.
Very good.
I would move to authorize the town manager to grant a 6-month extension on the MOU with the EDIC on the town landfill.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Now we go to the polar plunge. Saturday, January 31st, 2015, at Old Silver Beach. Organizers will be setting up tables for refreshments, registration, and prizes. And this is Gosnell Inc. that is doing this.
And this is, I think, the first time Gosnold's done the polar plunge.
I think it is, yeah.
And on the date we have from Sergeant Doyle refers to it as December 31st, 2014. I just want to clarify, it is not until January 31st in the next year.
Saturday, January 31st. Yes, did you want to say something? Can you come to the microphone? Yeah, please. And your name for the record?
It's on.
That's okay, it's on.
My name's Mary Katoya. I'm Director of Development for Gosnold. And I just, if I might just real quick to summarize. As you all know, Gosnold continues to work very hard to help individuals and families struggling with addiction and mental health. And this work takes many forms, which is prevention, intervention, and recovery, and enhancing recovery efforts. And that's what this event is about, is to educate, get out there more in the community, educating the community, and most importantly, continue to engage those people in recovery. We unfortunately hear a lot of negative stories there, so we're trying to build on the positive. And my colleague Gretchen is with me from Gosnold as well, and this will be our first annual. We're hopeful on the turnout, but we honestly don't know yet, and we'll make sure we stay in touch with the right authorities, as we start registration, because it is a short time period. But we'll know pretty quickly how well the participation will be. But we're looking forward to a good turnout and a positive experience for those many people enjoying recovery and helping to strengthen it. So.
Good. I think we need to point out this is not the bucket brigade or the bucket challenge like some has been done this past year, but this is where you got to really jump in the water and be brave.
Yeah,
so,
we're calling it Dive into Recovery, which is very clever. Gretchen has come up with, we do already have some sponsors. In fact, Randy Hunt has raised his hand first to sponsor us. And we're really just looking forward to having it be a positive day. It's a short time period. We'll be in and out of there, but hopefully we'll get a good turnout and maybe raise some money there.
Great. Okay, thank you. Sam?
Maybe two different comments in support of your effort and your organization. I just recently have talked to a neighbor who's a long-term volunteer at the emergency room at the hospital, and she was observing her own evidence of the increase in the number of people who are suffering from a drug addiction and overdoses and that sort of thing. And she said it's really hard to imagine how much it's kind of expanded in Falmouth. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that she indicated was they were having difficulty finding places to accept them after they were released from the emergency room, but still needed, observation and care. And there just aren't enough places to move these folks out of the emergency room into the care of someone who can continue to monitor until they get through a certain stage. And so Gosnold has fulfilled that kind of role.
We're trying. We hope that the efforts on the front end with prevention and the back end with sustaining recovery might lessen that need in the middle, and that certainly is going to take time, but if that works. I don't know if it was in my application, but the rain date we'd hope would be, I don't think there'd be a rain date, but if there's some blizzard for any
like a snow date, maybe?
To make it the next day, and I just want to throw that out there. So.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Yes, Sam?
But I also know, in last Friday's Enterprise, there was an article about the amount of pressure on children as a result of difficulties in families, and certainly, the problems with drug addiction affect the children in our family as well. And it's important for us to recognize that this just isn't the individual that's being affected by the families as well. And it's having a much bigger and broader impact than I think a lot of us realize.
Thank you for your comments and recognizing that, because it's very true.
Well, I think it's, if you read any of the media or watch any of the media, you realize what a huge problem it is everywhere, but even here on Cape Cod, the serious problems of drug addiction and drug abuse. And I know that there are a number of nonprofits as well as a number of other organizations, including Cape Cod Healthcare, including the Sheriff's Department and all the police department. I know that there is a special drug task force that was created by the towns of Barnstable, Yarmouth, and Mashpee that have been specially funded, that are working day and night, weekends, really working all over the Cape. I think I mentioned that once before, that we were attempting to get some state funding for that group as well. Although they are local police officers, they are also sworn as sheriffs, which give them the ability to work over jurisdictional lines. Otherwise, they wouldn't have any authority in the town other than the one where they work. So being sworn as sheriffs allows them to be able to arrest and to function on a Cape-wide basis. And that group has been pretty successful, I think, over the last year since they've been working. And it's just a huge problem, and it takes a lot of people to help counteract some of this. Sam?
Can I point out that that article was really about the impact of children as being observed in the schools by the school nurses. And because of budget cuts, we've had to cut back on the aides that actually support our school nurses. So we as a community can help, in at least comforting some of these children and helping them kind of get their heads back together so they can perform academically by supporting our educational program in those areas. And I've talked to Nancy Taylor, the Director of Pupil Personnel Services, and she said, you just don't have any idea how big of a problem it is with children in all different ways, not just drug addiction, but dysfunctionality in families. It affects children. And I know as a retired teacher, I saw it in my students. It is a serious issue, and it's unfortunate that it affects the more innocent members of our community.
Becky?
I was going to the lighter side and asking if you're looking for volunteers from the selectmen, and I don't know if that's one of our requirements that we take the plunge, but we'll see.
Well, it's not a requirement, but you're
you're
happy. It's okay if you want to do it.
You can like our page, and then when we post it for registration, you can sign up.
They will all know.
Well, Kevin Murphy took the plunge,
He
I think,
certainly
last
did.
year for the...
He and Mr. Driscoll did it a
Right,
couple
yes,
years ago.
that's right. So, guys,
One quick up.
yeah,
Back to the podium, just to make sure this all goes well, and to, of course, add my support to Gosnold and its efforts, I just want to make sure you get on your paperwork the snow date, and also the indemnification hold harmless agreement wasn't complete. Just maybe work with the town manager's office in terms of getting an officer or director to sign that and get it witnessed and dated.
Okay,
Okay? Thank you.
thank you.
We need to vote, I think. We still need to vote.
yes. So we have a motion and a second, do we? So all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
I think it's close enough that we can open the public hearing. We have a wetland hearing. Is everybody here, Mike?
Yeah, I thought I heard someone knocking.
Well, we can at least open the hearing and then give people a chance to get here. The Falmouth Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing under Section 240-77 Wetlands Regulations of the zoning bylaws of the town of Falmouth on Monday, December 22nd, 2014, at 7:30 p.m. in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, Falmouth Town Hall, on the application of Robert and Janet Haskins for the proposed modification and Chapter 91 licensing of the existing timber, pier, ramp, float, and pilings located Sharon Ann Lane, East Falmouth. The area affected is Green Pond, and interested parties may review the file on the hearing in the Selectman's office. So for the applicant, we have Michael McGrath.
My name is Michael McGrath. I'm a civil engineer in land surveyor. My firm prepared the plan and the application for the special permit. What I've done is I've handed you an 11 by 17 plan, and I will quickly refer to it. What is going on is we performed a survey of the existing conditions at on the unnumbered lot at the end of Sharon Ann Lane, and we found that the pier was not built according to the permit.
On your copy of the plan, you can see dotted in green. What was dotted in green was what was permitted. What was actually constructed is completely different in that there was an L-shaped float and then there was like a landing area off to the side. So what the work that we're proposing to do is to take off the unpermitted L-shaped float, take off this landing, and put a single float in that's in the right depth. And so,
Michael, the X's are the removed?
yeah, the X's are to be removed, and then what's going to be permitted then is we're going to permit the existing fixed pier in place, a ramp, and a float. So it's a new float of piles is highlighted in yellow, and then what's also highlighted is the X's. So the bottom line is this is requires a special permit under the Falmouth zoning bylaw because there's a provision in the bylaw that says that if we alter any wetlands, we come before the Board of Selectmen. This is obviously an alteration. We have an approval from, in the form of an order of conditions from the Falmouth Conservation Commission approving this. Also, we found was more clearing than was shown on the original plan, so they're actually revegetating the areas of inland, but that's beyond your scope. Your scope's generally for mean high water out. So are there any specific questions I can answer from the Board of Selectmen?
Yeah, I went down and looked at it the other day, and when you're walking down the dock and you look to the left, the part that's being removed there on the left,
Yes.
that's like just a seating area. I mean, it's not really like a float, is it? They just have chairs there.
Oh, that is
that the
L
part that-
section that's going to be removed, yes.
That section's being removed.
Yes.
But
to explain why, a pier, under the Chapter 91 has to be, the use of it has to be related to the water. You can't have a sitting area or a
Right.
drinking platform,
Party.
on a pier.
A party platform, huh?
A party platform.
Right.
So the bottom line is that this is probably not, we couldn't get a license for that.
The other thing I noticed were there weren't any timber piles on the current dock. Does this new one have timber piles?
We're showing timber piles on the float, we're not altering the pier itself.
Not the pier, but on the float.
On the float, we put timber piles in.
On all four corners?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't quite see, oh, there, it says timber piles, but I didn't realize it was going to be on all four corners.
We do that, one, pipe piles are useless in a hurricane, and two, there is this, there's been a couple of instances, not around here, where people have like someone's fallen off a float and then people rush over to one side and the float flips over. So we always put in extra piles.
The pier and the ramp, though, seem to be in very good condition.
Yes.
They just want to change them and make them more conforming.
That's right. What's going on is there's a sale pending, or a sale that's been accomplished, and we have to bring things in compliance with all the permits.
Okay. Anybody have, Doug?
The pergola is not under our jurisdiction, is that correct?
No.
It's going to be remaining, the existing pergola that's up on land side?
Yes.
That's not part of this?
That's not part of this.
Is the same party that didn't do what they were told the first time going to be doing it again?
First off, I wasn't there, and I don't know when and all that.
Are the same owners?
Is it a new property owner that is now trying to correct what was wrong? Or is this actually the same property owner that was?
There's been a death, so it sort of gets complicated.
It's in
I'm working
estate.
for the estate.
Okay. Otherwise, to say, go ahead and do it, it'd be a little bit concerning to tell the same person who didn't do what they were told the first time what, the expectations that they're going to do what they did this time. But if it's different parties that we're talking about.
All I can tell you is I'm working for an estate.
I move approval. As presented.
As the plan dated October 3rd, 2014?
Yeah, with
Is that the correct date, Michael?
Yes.
with the
okay.
cited orders of conditions by the Conservation Commission.
Right. The thing I noticed on the order of conditions, for the first time, I didn't see anything that spoke to the number of boats that could be on the dock. Usually, the Concom specifies that in their order of conditions. Do you know how many boats they plan to have at that dock? Doesn't look like it would hold.
It has enough depth to have a boat here and maybe a small dinghy someplace else on this side.
But most of the docks in this area have been limited to one boat.
To one boat. But we can do that,
Yep.
I believe. Without council present, I think we can limit it to one boat,
Well, I'd be happy to amend my motion
to
to
include
include
that,
that restriction.
that only one boat can occupy the dock at a time.
So moved.
Okay. Is anyone, okay,
I think the word is tied up.
Are you including size?
tied up? That only one boat can be tied up at any one time
Yeah,
at the
you said
dock?
occupied, and that might be
Okay.
confusing.
Becky?
Is there a size of the one boat that is allowed to be there tied up? Are we?
Usually,
saying-
it's limited by the size of the dock, and I don't think those docks are really big enough to hold a very large boat. Would you say?
There's 3.6 feet to 4 feet of water, so it's not a big boat.
No.
And since this is replacing a pier that did exist, there's a reason I have less concerns about how far it goes out into the waterway, because it already would have to meet that requirement, and it's a replacement, but,
Yeah, it really is a replacement that's more conforming than the ones that were there.
I think that's an important thing to put in our finding, that it is actually designed, once again, to fit the code that we have for piers. I imagine that the Concom will be checking very carefully to make sure it actually follows the plan that's been put before us. And maybe the condition I would put is, normally we don't have to, but if there is any deviance, it will be removed at the owner's expense.
Right. Okay. Do you have that, Carolyn? Okay. All right. Any other comments? Any other discussion on this request, application? No?
I didn't hear a second, though.
Oh,
I'll second.
who made the motion? Oh, Sam made the motion and you seconded it. Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas to you. I have the signed one here. This is the official plan, so I'll send it down for signatures.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I think this was a public hearing. Did you invite?
Oh, I didn't. I'm sorry.
Before we,
No, we just took a vote.
Yeah.
Before, I didn't even close the hearing. So a motion to close the
So
hearing.
we want to take this public comment first?
All those who would like to speak in favor of this dock? Is there anyone who would like to speak against the dock?
I would move we close the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Now we take the motion. So Sam, can you make your motion again?
yes,
To
I move
approve the
that
dock with the following conditions.
with the following conditions, that the number of boats be limited to one, and that if there are any deviations from the permit, that the dock shall be moved at the owner's expense.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you for reminding me on how to conduct a public hearing.
I would have done the same.
I think you forget from one week to the next. Okay. Now we're going to take a short recess. And during this recess, we want to thank
Did you want to do the shade tree first? 7:45, or you want to take 10 minutes now?
All right, before we recess, we're going to do, I think I'll go home and let all of you guys take over this meeting.
We're not going to approve that motion.
All right, now we're going to do a shade tree hearing. And this is a shade tree or two trees, I think, at 362 Mara Vista Avenue. Is the owner here? Yes. would you like to come and speak to your shade tree removal request? You know what it is? I checked these off and I don't see them. Okay.
There's actually 3 trees. I only noticed
I
2.
noticed you have 3 trees. Which 2? Are the ones in front?
The 2 in front are the ones you put the notice on, but this oak is also in very bad jeopardy when we put the septic system in this area. There's only 10 to 12.
Well, this is only for 2 trees tonight. So if you wanted to add a third, you'd have to come back. We can't approve 3 if it's been noticed for 2. It's a public hearing.
Let's get through the 2.
Let's get through the 2 then. And Rocky's not here, but that's okay. So why don't you describe the trees in front of your house and what you're planning to do that would require these trees to be removed? That would be helpful.
First, I would like to say, my name is Stephen Moore. I've lived here in town for a long time. This project has already been through Zoning Board of Appeals, has been approved by the Board of Health and the Conservation Department. We're here for a shade tree hearing on these 2 maples that are in the town's right-of-way. We are tearing down this house and putting in a new foundation, new septic system, and building the house back up. There's only 15 feet from the trees to the foundation area of the house. There's a dry well in the middle, and this whole area is going to be excavated. The roots for these trees grow significantly into the front yard of the area. The trees are older. We're proposing that we take the trees out and replace them with 6-inch caliper trees that fit the correct tree for the salt area down there. It's a heavily salted area at the end of Mara Vista. It's a very small lot. It's about 5,000 square feet, and basically the whole lot is going to get torn up. And we don't feel, and our arborist does not feel, that the trees are going to survive. So we would rather take the trees down instead of just limiting them up to the property line and offer to replace the trees to the town with 6-inch caliper trees that are appropriate for the environment down there.
Okay, those are very large trees, but they're Norway maples. And usually, we find that many of the Norway maples in town are not healthy. Do you know,
These trees are not healthy at all. I mean, if you look at
Does somebody have I don't have the paperwork. Do you have the information from Rocky Gums? Could you read what it says?
Happy to. Madam Chairman, my recommendation is for the removal of 2 24-foot maple trees at 326 Mara Vista Ave. As I have reviewed the construction plans of the new residence, it is apparent that the root systems of these trees would sustain major damage and the trees would not recover from such damage. I do ask that the homeowner replace the trees with an agreeable replacement. I will be glad to work on the siting and the species. Edwin P. Gomes, tree warden, town of Falmouth. And I'm also looking at the application. I don't see that it says the number of trees, and there's no indication that Rocky looked at more than the 2 trees, so.
The application does refer only to Norway maples.
What is the tree that's on the side road there?
It's a white oak.
Oh, it's an oak. It's a different type of tree.
Yeah.
I see no problem moving forward with the 2 Norway maples. I think there are actually some better trees that could go there than the maples, but I'm afraid we'd have to come back to the oak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would agree with that. I have no problem with that.
It's just what's been published in the paper is that just
Okay, that's
those
fine.
2.
Thank you. Ready
Okay.
for a motion?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll move to approve the removal of the 2 shade trees, the Norway maples, with the expectation that they would be replaced upon consultation with Edwin Gomes, our tree warden.
Thank you.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you. Now may
So-
I make another comment?
Sure.
And this is to the process of shade tree hearings, and there's going to be a lot of them down on Mara Vista because of the sewer work that's going to be going on.
Because what?
Because of the sewer work and rebuilding
Oh.
of reconstruction of homes down there. We went through the Board of Appeals and that whole process, and then came to a shade tree, with a shade tree issue. Our arborist made an application in July to Town Hall and to your office, brought in his own check to pay for the hearing. We were called several weeks later and told that I needed to come down and pay for it. I came down in mid to the third week of August and paid for my shade tree hearing, and here we are in December. That's a very long delay for a shade tree hearing. I hope that, people in the future will not be put through that kind of a delay. It seemed like the process between the Selectman's office, the DPW, and other departments in town, nobody seemed to know who was responsible or where it was going. In August, I was sent to the Selectman's office, the DPW office, and back to the building department all in one day. So I hope you can address the issue, and going forward, shade tree hearings can happen on a more timely basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we will certainly ask the town manager
Check into
to
that.
check into that. We've had many shade tree hearings in the past, and we certainly want them to move in a more orderly and prompt manner. So
Thank you.
thank you
Appreciate
for
your
letting
time.
us know. Thank you.
Thanks for the comment.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Now, I hesitate to say what we do next.
Recess.
Now we're going to take a recess, because we want to thank our, we want to thank our, what shall we call her, a minute taker, Carol Sutherland, who has been with us for quite a while, whose minutes have been so exceptional. You will notice, if you notice these things, that seldom have we ever had to make a change to the minutes. She has done such a great job. And Carol, we really want to thank you for your time with us and appreciate the excellent work that you have done. Wouldn't you say, everybody? We think so. And we also want to welcome, why don't you introduce Carol's replacement?
Certainly. It's a pleasure sitting to Carol's left is Denise Bradford, who will be stepping up into Carol's shoes in selectmen's meetings in the future. And we look forward to working with Denise. Welcome to you as well.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to have
And
some
one thing,
tape.
just to comment
Go
as to
ahead.
that Carol is, that our loss of Carol, it'll be to the advantage of the CPC. That
Well,
more of
that's-
our time is going to be going in that direction.
Exactly.
And that's great that the CPC will be able to use you in that way. I think it's fantastic for them.
All right, so I want
Still be
to
serving
invite
the-
everyone to join us in some lemon cake.
So Carol will still be serving the town, so thank you, Carol, for
I will call the meeting to order, back from recess. And we have something we need to slip in sort of quickly on our agenda before we take up the next item. And we have Chuck Martinson from our Marine Environmental Department, and Sue Moran is going to introduce the topic. Sue?
Sure. I asked the chair to put this on the agenda tonight, and I appreciate Mr. Martinson, who's really the expert in this area, attending. And it was really out of concern for the incidents of the runner recently getting shot, and then a dog I also read about. And I happened to be just driving down the street near Long Pond and saw a jogger running into the woods with a gray jogging suit on. And I think it would really be a good public service to let people know about a really basic rule in hunting season, and that is that the color orange is worn sort of for protection in hunting areas. And really, whether or not you're for or against hunting, it's not that kind of issue at all. It's about safety. And for example, in Maine, it's just a matter of habit that there are very reasonably priced little orange bibs by the door. And before you go out to walk your dog in the woods, you slip one on and you go without even thinking about it. It's a matter of habit. And really, we should begin to think that way here if you are, if you're going to go walk your dog in the woods or jog in the woods. And so I want to introduce the expert in the subject, and I really appreciate you coming. Sure. I think it's propitious timing right now for people to think about this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me this evening. Chuck Martinson, I'm the Deputy Director of Marine and Environment. And you're absolutely right. I think a lot of people who've lived in this town a long time have known that there is hunting that takes place throughout the town extensively. However, there are a lot of new people that have moved to the community. And particularly some of those folks might not realize the extensive amount of hunting that does take place in town. We do have 2 wildlife management areas, which on opening day, there are literally hundreds of people that hunt at those places. Those exist off 151 and adjacent to Hayway Road. There are other areas that are open for hunting as well that are not posted, and there's also private properties which are unposted as well, which are where people hunt. Some of the basic rules: people need to be 500 feet from a occupied dwelling or dwelling house in use, or 150 feet from a paved surface. And as a general rule, and again, I think Maine is a great example, anyone in Maine that's anywhere near the woods, even if you're walking down a road near the woods, generally wears bright colors. Normally the fluorescent bright orange. You can pick a vest up like this right at Eastman's or any of the local hardware stores. Short money, it's only $7 or $8. And what you're trying to essentially do, obviously, is not have someone think that you're a deer. So white is a color which we avoid. We always avoid white on all of our uniforms. Our summer uniforms are white, but our hunting winter uniforms are always a much different color than that.
Is that because you look like a deer?
You look like the tail of a deer, essentially, yeah. So through a thicket or through the woods, essentially, that's on a number of occasions people have been shot because, whether or not if you believe in hunting or not, there are some people that are very aggressive and have shot at what they think to be a deer, and it ultimately is not. Just a few other quick things. If you go on, there's a state website. It's MASS fishhunt.gov. That has all the regulations there. If there's anyone that has any questions, certainly during daytime hours, you can call our office at 508-457-2550, or if there's any concerns that are non-business hours, feel free to call the police department. They'll page one of our wardens to come out, respond to your concern. We have calls all the time. We respond to calls day, night, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So don't hesitate to call if there's a concern. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Timing, just without asking about particular seasons for particular hunting activities, from what date to what date should you just put on an orange vest when you walk out the door?
Roughly the middle of October through the middle of March. Those are the real times. most critical time would be in December. That would really be the time that it would really use extra precaution around that time, because it is deer season, gun deer hunting time. Does anyone else have any questions?
Okay, anybody have any questions? I noticed in the story in the Cape Cod Times, the man who was shot over in Hyannis, he was mistaken for an animal. And I don't know if it was the Conservation Commission for the town of Barnstable, but they mentioned the fact that over the years that so much land has been developed, and there isn't that much undeveloped land anymore. And so the areas where people hunt are more or less surrounded now by areas that really are residential or commercial, and people are living there. So people who, like the man who was shot, is used to walking through those woods with his dog, and now there's a lot more development around the area than there used to be, and the same is true here. So we do have to be careful when we go in the woods, because they're not as protected as they used to be. So thank you very much, Sue, for bringing that up, and Chuck for coming. I know you have someplace else you have to be.
Appreciate you coming out.
We had a deer get hit a little bit earlier tonight, so someone who was here, so I have to go deal with that next. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we want to talk about the RFP, the request for proposals for the construction or the site visibility and construction cost estimate and the operational budget for the senior center. And I'm sure everybody's had an opportunity to read this, and I thought it was really...
Heather has something to...
I know, you want to talk, you want to pass something out?
I can just do a quick overview,
Sure.
if that's okay.
That would
for the
be
board.
helpful.
If you recall, the working group, the site feasibility working group recommended several sites. The board ultimately whittled that down to 4 sites to be included in a request for proposals to study both redevelopment and vacant parcels for the siting of a new senior center. He'd asked us to come back with an RFP and a timeline, which is what we have for you this evening. The request for proposals is in draft, and I just need to recognize the working group, and especially Jill Irving Bishop, for putting a tremendous amount of work into making sure that had everything that it needed to in order to be a broad scope that allowed us to accomplish something in a fairly short time period. So what I will pass out to you is a copy of an updated timeline. And the only thing that's updated, and Jill, you have this already, is just to make sure we hit all of the appropriate schedules for the notification that's required. What this would do would allow the town to issue the feasibility study for the 4 selected sites this month to appear in the Central Register on December 31st. And then we would be in the process of receiving proposals at the end of January, with a review process ideally completed by January 30th. And it's an ambitious schedule to get all those in, depending on how many proposals we receive. We'll have a review process for that, and that's a process you all are very familiar with other requests for proposals that we do. We convene a review team to analyze that, identify the most responsive and responsible bidder. The town manager then recommends the award to the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Selectmen would then contract for those services. And ideally, that will be about an 8 to 12 week planning process, where the consultant will both hold community forums as well as develop a conceptual plan for each of the 4 sites to determine whether it is in fact feasible to meet the needs outlined by the Council on Aging for a new senior center. You also have in your packet what I think is helpful, and that is an expectations of the selected site. Just a couple of paragraphs that outlines what our expectations of the site are, and that's really based on the work of the Council on Aging, developing a program for the future facility, both based on past work and current programming. It's just a couple of paragraphs, and we've asked the board to take a look at that. It is in your packet. I'm happy to read it if you'd like me to.
That would be a good idea.
And why don't I go ahead and just do that? The expectations of the selected site. The town seeks to relocate its vital and active Council on Aging programming to a new expanded facility at one of 4 potential locations, including both vacant land and redevelopment options. The new facility will ultimately accommodate the programming needs outlined in the draft space needs matrix, which is a list of programs which is in your file. It is anticipated that the building may be constructed in phases, with a first phase of approximately 12,000 to 15,000 square feet, expandable in later phases to approximately 18 to 20,000 square feet. The current facility is 4,000 square feet and no longer adequately serves our population. Programming for seniors is currently provided at other public and private facilities in the town, and the town expects to continue to support senior programming off-site. The town seeks the senior center to provide opportunities to improve and expand upon programming and services, to provide community engagement, cultural, wellness, social, and educational programs, and to improve the quality of life of Falmouth residents. Outreach and counseling will remain core services provided at the new center. As this planning effort advances, the town will continue to explore options to combine services and improve cross-functional support for other municipal service agencies, including human services, recreation programs, and others. The selected site shall contemplate a regular flow of visitors as well as parking to support large events. Key site amenities and features shall include adequate parking or access to parking, safe traffic and access routes, covered drop-off for van transportation and others needed for senior drop-off, commercial loading and unloading areas, quality outdoor recreation space for walking trails, gardens, and patio. That really just gives the consultant a broad view of what the site expectations are. And so from here, with your blessing, we'll move forward to the advertising and recruitment process.
Okay, comments from the board? Sam?
Yeah, just a couple of comments on the page that you just read, Heather. There was a little typo there.
Got it.
You got it already?
Mhm.
But then under quality outdoor recreation, I would almost say quality outdoor recreation opportunities such as, and I might put white walking paths rather than trails. Trails to me suggest that it's in some kind of a wooded area, whereas I'm not sure that this couldn't be, a track, or just a nice walk through the community that's designated as
Sure.
Just a little wording change that might open it up a little bit, but the gardens and the patio, I think, are great ideas.
I happened to be over at the Barnstable Senior Center not too long ago for a meeting, and I had never been on the lower level of that building. And outside the room that I was meeting in was a garden, and they were actually using it in some cases to grow vegetables and things like that. Not a community garden, but having a garden has many purposes other than just beautification. It could possibly be put to use as well.
So were you entertaining comments on the other parts of this RFP?
Anything you want to say regarding this, yes.
Well, I have a couple of suggestions, and I'll just throw it out as that. If you turn to page 4, under draft and minimum requirements, if I were reviewing this, I would be asking for maybe just a list of 5 existing senior centers that have the potential to serve as comparable projects. You're asking that responder to give you examples of things they think might be applicable, and it's a way of kind of seeing where their thinking is.
Which paragraph is that?
I'm adding a 7.
Oh, you're adding a 7.
On the
Okay.
list of minimum requirements on page 4. To me, it gives me a little bit more insight into where their thinking is in terms of what might be an appropriate senior center, given the information that we're providing.
Can you read it again?
Sure.
Where the secretaries?
Absolutely.
For me?
Number 7, provide a list of 5 existing senior centers that have the potential to serve as comparable projects. I mean, I've driven all across Cape Cod driving the CCRTA DART buses, and I've seen at least 6 different senior centers, and they're all quite different. But, it would be nice for them to take a look at what we've suggested and come back and say, I think these are 5 sites that kind of fall into the categories that might suit your needs, And it's a way of them giving us some sense of what their response might be. You're not asking them to give a conceptual design, just point out examples of things that they think might serve as a starting point.
Because they're required to have at least 3 that they've done. 4 is good and 5 is highly advantageous but you're saying this might be not just ones they've done, ones that they're looking around saying, we didn't do this one, but boy, that's a model that would work well.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's a good thought. You know, you're right, because I've been in a lot of senior centers around the Cape and elsewhere, and Marshfield and Plymouth and so forth. And I look at these, and not knowing what precipitated the design or the location or the purpose, you say to yourself, why did they build this building like this, like even Barnstable? Why did they build the building as it is? And what was the rationale? So I think that would be very helpful to have them say, we have looked at these, and these were built for these purposes. And we think that they may or may not address the purposes here in Falmouth. Becky?
I just thought either Jill or Jim could answer that, whether you have ideas in your mind or the consultant that is going to be hired, that you have shared with him what you would like to see. Have you, I mean, I just think of the amount of time and discussion and the number of meetings, and I think, I don't know for sure, that you have suggested or have looked at drawings of what you would like in the new senior center.
What we would do is, as the consultant is selected, first of all, they do have to have experience in these types of buildings and projects to bring forward. And also in the RFP, we will hold a number of working meetings to really entertain what we from Falmouth want to bring as a senior center environment. So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty with the consultant, but they have to come with their experience ahead of time. They were asking, I believe it was for 5 projects, municipal big projects.
See, I just personally think there has been so much, they've had so many meetings, and it has gone on for a longer period of time than what you anticipated. And I think they know what they want. I mean, it may not be just as you're reading right here, but I mean, you're discussing.
It will be, and that's why we have a number of the working meetings. The public forums will participate the community to talk about the sites themselves. But the working meetings, whether it be with the working group or our municipal leaders or the Council on Aging and myself, we will talk about specifics for what we want within and exterior building.
Does that kind of answer what you're
Yeah,
thinking
no,
about?
I fully understand. You know, this is just a request for proposal, but the actual process of coming up with the final concept that would be proposed for Falmouth is a process that we will go through.
Absolutely.
Not-
And that's what this will do. We'll come up with,
Well, that's what we're asking these folks to do for us, is to basically guide us through that process, right?
I think that's their job, yeah.
Doug?
Is the matrix, the draft program matrix, is that a wish list? Is that the ideal? Is that the requirement?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
It's a little bit of both. The majority of what's on here, we already do. And so what we get into is a little bit of programming and a little bit of space needs on here. And then there's some opportunities which, when you look at some of the, whether it's programming space or support needs space administration, you want to look at the flow of how you want your senior center to work. We've actually taken tours of several senior centers, and there's some right off the bat could be a Taj Mahal look, and it looks beautiful, but it's not what I see from Falmouth. Where if you get others where you have a beautiful flow and you have open space, where you have walls that can come down so you can accommodate, several hundred people instead of small spaces.
So for instance, on the things we talk about programming space, when it's listing a large multipurpose room, an auditorium, a library, a classroom general, it might be that one room serves 4 or 5 different purposes. We don't need to have a checklist, say, yeah, we got that, we got that, we got that.
Right, we want to be able to have that type of programming.
Okay.
If you look at a Mashpee space,
Yep.
they have their large multipurpose room, which also serves as their congregate meal space. And to one side, they have their arts and crafts room, and the other side, they have their auditorium, which is also their workout space, but all the walls can come down, and you can open it right up.
Perfect.
So it's a flow.
They've spent a long time.
Great.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I might be, if it might be okay if you just let Jill and I work with where that might be appropriately located?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay.
I've done procurement, and I look for ways of kind of discriminating between proposals and trying to tease out insights into where these various applicants are coming from. And so I'd like to get some tangible result from them in their proposal that helps me kind of select whenever there's a fine line between two candidates, just give you some insight into what their thinking is up front.
And maybe some of their experience may be smaller centers versus centers the size that we may need.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
apples to apples.
Yeah. But and they may even suggest a spectrum, and that's kind of what I was looking for, and just to show you that they're looking at a broad range of possibilities. That may suggest something to you as well, that they're open.
You would suggest a certain number. I guess I wouldn't mind it to be a smaller number, but sort of say, and they have to be ones you didn't do. I'm not sure exactly, but for them to be open-minded, saying.
I don't want to restrict it too much.
Yeah, I guess
but
right.
5 seems like a reasonable number, and if they're in the business, they ought to be able to come up with 5 just like that,
Okay.
I did have another question for you. On your criteria, it's under draft, it's on page 5. On number 3, it says relevance of references to the project requirements and responses from reference checks. And then under highly advantageous, it says the references include at least 5 project references for senior center projects performed in the last 10 years and at least 1 rink pool complex.
That is very low.
I would hope so. Because it almost seems like a poison pill that would eliminate some of the people that you really want to be. So I would put in there, maybe as an alternative, your call, and at least 1 community center, which would suggest maybe a little bit broader experience than maybe just a selected senior center, but somebody that's dealt with a community center and might be able to pull in some ideas that would be valuable. Right, but anyway.
Good suggestions. Anybody else want to say anything?
I do.
Heather?
That's okay. Yep, there's another piece, if we're all set with the RFP, that I want to make sure that we talk about, and that's the overarching schedule for the project, which we felt was very important for the selectmen to be comfortable with, the council on aging, and the seniors in our community to know what the schedule might look like for the project. So you see the schedule for the feasibility study that ideally, if everything goes perfectly, could be done by May, to have a site recommended from the consultant and the working group based on that process. That would put us in a schedule of spring, summer 2015. The Board of Selectmen would recommend a site and authorize the development of an RFP for design, building design. Remember, this is just site feasibility. And that would be subject to appropriation in November 2015. During this, basically the same time frame, August to September, we'd be working to develop, this is next August, our capital plan and taking a close look at the capital funding and the phasing for constructing a senior center. In November of 2015, the funds would be appropriated for the design. December 2015, we'd award the contract for design. And then April 2016 would be the first opportunity to consider the final design and construction subject to a ballot approval. So that's conceptually where the finance director of town management sees the project unfolding into our full capital planning. I think that gives us all a real benchmark to move towards.
Any discussion? Sam?
Can I ask a question about that time? It seemed like 3 weeks is a pretty narrow limit on anybody that's responding, especially if they are trying to field other proposals at the same time. And I would hate to see us weed out a firm that's very qualified. Is that the normal time frame? It seems like a month is, and I'd rather see us tighten up on our end of reviewing the proposals.
We give ourselves 5 days for review.
Yeah.
Remember, this isn't for design. This is just for the site feasibility.
I understand.
Oh, okay.
But still, sometimes companies get in a jam because they have too many responses they have to make. Their proposals, they're not really doing the work. They don't necessarily have the contracts, so it's not like you have a problem with them competing with other customers. And I just didn't want to make it such a brief period of time for them to respond.
Well, I would note one, it's the board's process, so if you feel that you want to extend that, it just means it's extended on the other end. The timeline is subject to revision, and the notices will go out this week to the Central Register, to the newspaper appearing on December 31st, and we will send them to the consultants. We've got a couple pages of prospective consultants, and those will go out, the public notice will go out at the end of this week.
Okay. I'm actually responding from my own experience.
Yeah.
Having been under the gun
Gun.
to respond to proposals, and you frequently are on very tight deadlines and several different responses at the same time. And I would suggest we give them another week and just make it January 30th, or I guess, I don't know what the day of the week is.
Where those weeks are going to come from is them actually doing the job.
Well, yeah.
I mean, do we want them to spend more time on doing the proposal to us or actually doing the study?
I'm trying to avoid excluding a really qualified firm that might do the best job because they just have too much on their plate and they can't quite meet a 3-week deadline. That's what I'm suggesting, is just give them a little bit more space, because 3 weeks is not a lot of time to suddenly gin up your company to respond in a credible, responsive kind of way.
The only thing I'll add to that, because I've done similar, consulting, procurement, is that these things are on the computer already. All you do is you of course you look at the particularities, but in terms of putting together what they need to meet the deadline, I think if you want the job enough, and I'm sure, these are things that people in the business look for. This is, a kind of a cherry of an assignment, so I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a week.
Extend it a week?
Yeah.
Okay. So instead of January 23rd, make it January 30th, when the
Think that
proposals are
makes
due?
more sense?
Yeah.
Okay,
Does it move everything else?
just on the other end.
Just moves the end point to June rather than May,
Yeah.
but it doesn't affect the overall big project schedule.
I just think that we are now in December, and I think that we thought we would be further along already, and there's just been lots of reasons, so I like the schedule as it is.
I'm a little concerned about the difference between May and June, too. I think I feel more comfortable keeping it at May.
I just want to reinforce that this is a very ambitious schedule, and to receive proposals on January 31st and have a project before the Board of Selectmen first week in February is ambitious in itself. So I think we just need to be open-minded that we're going to do our best to get the proposals reviewed and evaluated and presented to the board, but it needs to be done responsibly.
Agreed.
I think May 2016, we have to have the ballot question. And we just can't move beyond that. And so if we can fit everything else in by getting it in June, I'm okay with that. But I think the next step calendar is extremely important to stick to.
All right, I need a motion.
Do we need to move the RFP first, or do we need to move both of them?
No, we're really just, our vote is to,
Because we do have to authorize the RFP tonight.
Expectations and then the
our
RFP.
vote comes on the expectations, and then the second vote comes on issuing the request for the proposal, which would have a different date if you choose a different date.
I would move the proposed timeline as given to us, with the exception of moving the proposals due on January 30th, 2015, and the site feasibility project complete by mid-June 2015? By
We
June
will receive
2015?
proposals from consultants with schedules that we will review.
Right.
All right, so,
Would you just repeat that, please?
What I'm suggesting, we change January 23, 2015 to January 30th, 2015. And we may have to change things, revise them as we get proposals from our contractors. I think to put anything else, other dates on there and saying those are
well,
set in
then the
stone.
complete review would be February, 7th? 7th, February 6th?
I would just...
Or just move everything up accordingly?
Yeah.
All right. Change that date, and then everything moved up accordingly. Okay. That's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion.
Can I,
Sam.
one more comment. Under that draft set of criteria on page 5, under the unacceptable category for number 3, which is relevance of references to, you have the unacceptable.
Wait, that's separate. We're just doing the
timeline,
dates
excuse me.
now. We're just doing the dates first. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Now we go back to the feasibility study itself. The expectations of the selected site. And that was page what, page 5?
No, that's a single sheet.
Oh, it's a single sheet. Oh, that's right.
Well, we're finished with that.
Oh, the
Sam's comment was
expectation.
on page 5 of the RFP.
Okay, Sam, your comments on page.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to make the criteria so tight that we eliminate somebody that really does have everything else that looks really attractive. And so under number 3, relevance of references, the unacceptable category, it says right now, the reference projects include less than 3 senior centers. Well, it says if you haven't built more than 3 centers, or you have, less than 3 centers, we're going to eliminate you. I would say no senior center experience would be unacceptable. And leave at least the possibility that if you had somebody that looks really attractive in every other sense, you wouldn't eliminate them. Maybe they built community centers, and you can see that they have all the right kind of experience to come in and do that process of developing a design that really does respond to Falmouth's senior center needs. So anyway, I'm just suggesting that that might be a little bit too tight.
That's fine.
The discussion?
I think it's fine.
Senior or community centers.
Yeah, I think we're going to put that
I think
in
they
there.
know what they're
Yeah.
doing. Yeah. There's been a lot of time put into this.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll chair.
I'm going to agree with Becky that the committee has reviewed this, and I wouldn't be in favor of that change.
Well, since there is no second, we'll,
That was a suggestion, and
that's,
no big deal.
all right, so now,
So the changes that I would like to agree with Sam with is the rink pool complex being a community center on page 5.
She's taken that.
And that, I think that Sam's request that someone help you work in about the additional, other senior centers that that this group would say, that would fit our needs nicely, just as
or a
recommendations.
community center perhaps instead of a senior center. Because sometimes it's just the nomenclature.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not how the building is designed or the purpose of the building. They call them different things in different places.
I'll second that.
Right, and the only thing about Sam's, if the 5 things they have built are called community centers, not called senior centers, but really fit our needs perfectly, I would hate to have them disqualified just because the name of what they built wasn't a senior center, and maybe that's just within our.
We can take that into account.
Right, I think that.
Senior and/or community centers.
Sounds good to me. No problem, yeah, good.
Okay.
I think that people reading this would do that anyway. If
I
it makes
think
them more
so.
comfortable, call it senior and/or community center.
So
They
now
have
do
to
we
be
have a
given a lot
motion?
of credit for the work that has come done.
Well, I'm not trying to distract from that at all.
Well, strengthen the work.
So,
So I'll make that motion.
And I second it.
okay. Did you get the motion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Great. We're off and running again,
Walking
or walking, as the case may be.
Moving along.
Okay, now we're going to move to Peter McConerty, who is going to give us a presentation on the flood mitigation controls for the Eel Pond Bridge. Merry Christmas.
Have a nice holiday.
Do you need the lights out?
Yeah, if I get the lights going up, great.
You want it? Any more? One more, maybe? It's a little bright down this end. I think this one up here.
They're going to be in the dark pretty soon.
Yeah, that's the one.
Let me look and see what it was.
Whichever one it was, it's the right
It
one.
was the right one.
Peter, the floor is
Okay.
yours.
Good evening, Peter McConerty, Town Engineer. I want to start out by thanking the IT department. This afternoon, I did have some problems with the computer, and this presentation would not have happened in this way. I spent a couple of hours down here working on it, but we did get it up and running. So I'd like to particularly thank Mike Valieri from the IT department. He spent a couple of hours down here fixing this up. As everyone knows, we've had some problems with the Eel Pond Bridge in the last several years. 2009 is when the new bridge went online and went into an accelerated bridge schedule, bridge construction schedule in 2008, and the bridge opened in May 15th of 2009. This shows, just basically shows the channel going into, shows the restaurants and channels going into Eel Pond. Anyone from the area down there would know that that's the old bridge. You can see, still see the steel deck on it. That's the old bridge. This was taken probably 2007, 2008. This is an aerial shot that shows better the Eel Pond and the number of boats that use this in the summertime. But it shows the location of where it is and the number of boats that do occupy the Eel Pond. It shows Mill Pond and Woods Hole.
That's a great picture. That really gives the perspective on the importance of the bridge.
Yeah, it shows the ferry track going over the island.
Right.
So the bridge opening schedule, as I said, the bridge opened on May 15th, 2009, and the opening schedule is every half hour by request. So from May 15th to June 14th is 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. June 16th to September 15th, June 16th to September 15th is 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. September 16th to October 14th, 6 a.m. to 7, and October 15th to May 14th is 8 to 4. In the summertime, that means that there could be in any given day 30 openings, and there usually is. It's a very busy area in the summertime. So this bridge, if we get hit with summer storms and summer hurricanes, really causes an impact to the boats in the harbor. This is a photo shot showing the inside of the bridge tender's house. This is the new bridge tender's house, and it's being helmed by Mike Botello, who is the lead chief bridge tender. He's been there for 15 years, and Mike is actually in the house tonight. If you have any questions to ask him.
No, it's a very good picture of you, though, by the way.
Mike knows the channel. He knows the tides, he knows the bridge, he knows the quirks better than anyone at Public Works that we would know. Also, when every time there's a bridge opening, or if there's something that goes wrong with the bridge, or anything with the electric cabinets, that gets written into a log, and the logs, as the books get completed, the logs get filed. So we have logs since this bridge has started in 2009. So at this time, the bridge is working, things are good, everybody's happy, until that fateful day on October 28th, 2012, had a little bit of a storm. It was Hurricane Sandy. This is just a quick pic, showed the track of it coming up through and taking the loop into New Jersey, but we got hit with 58 plus winds, and it did flood our area, flood the bridge. So this is what we ended up with. It's a little hard to see, but that's the stairwell on the back of the bridge. And that whole stairwell is filled up with salt water. That's not fresh water coming from the roof, and it's even on both sides of the door. So what happened is the water came up and went over the wall, and it also came in and went through the steel beam girder portals into the counterweight pit, and it filled up the pit on both sides. So the first time it happened on October 29, 2012, and the second time it happened with the winter storm we had, Nemo, on February 8th. And it shows the two pumps that the DPW guys are getting ready to throw into the well to start pumping it down. It also shows the old railings, the steel railings. And that's when the bottom fell out. So you can see, this is the inside the bridge. When they finally got the doors open, the water is basically, I think this has got a on it. maybe not. It basically shows where the electrical cabinets, where the water line was. Up in this area right here, went right up to the center line of the motor. So everything that was in that motor room basically was trashed. Had to be all taken apart and dried out. Actually, the motors had to be taken off-site, brought up to a generator company, had to be taken apart, dried out, rewound, got all the salt out of it. There was some cam shafts in there and cam pots in there that also had to be taken out. The whole place was basically waterlogged. So, as I did this, sure.
I feel like I'm going to get splashed when you hit that button because you've been so creative about this presentation.
I was excited when I was making it, the presentation. Thank you, Heather. Probably just the enter button on it, maybe too. There you go. And so what happened is we had the Yale Pond Bridge was closed, mechanical and electrical repairs. What had happened, it was from October 28th. The bridge didn't actually reopen until the end of February, beginning of March, mid-March. So it was out of service for quite a while. Slide, please. So what this shows is during that time, Coast Guard Boston, the week and a half after this bridge was out, we got a phone call, and they were not too happy to find that the bridge was out. Public Works, we notified Cape Cod Coast Guard, but they did not notify Boston Coast Guard, so they were not happy. So the results for what basically happened is we needed to have that bridge open several times a week through those winter months. And what that involves is, you can see the guy in the middle, there's an orange handle he's holding on, that's the first motor shaft. You got to crank that up to raise the bridge. 10 times around on that motor shaft, the bridge raises about 1/16 of an inch. So it takes about 20 minutes to raise that bridge. And I know a little bit about it because the first time that had to be opened, it was opened by myself and then Assistant Highway Superintendent. When you raise that bridge, you know you're alive. Your heart's pounding out of your chest, and your rotor cuffs wonder what it's ever done to you to deserve that. So basically what had happened is the highway department started sending out 4 guys. There's 3 that take turns here, and there's also a guy in the back. There's a set of brakes. The more dangerous part of the bridge is when you're bringing the bridge down, a person has to stand out on the stairwell to watch the bridge when you get to about 6 feet. Because that handle will start spinning. You can't stop it, it'll break your wrist. So the person standing in the back is on the brakes, and he'll be lowering it down as the person is outside, saying 6, 5, 4, 3, feet, and then they lower it down in position. So that's more of a dangerous part, because you can do some damage to the bridge. And so this was basically, during that time, this was the dark ages of Yale Pond Bridge. During that time, we had to go back to putting sandbags up. We were lucky that we didn't have any storms during 2012, 2013, and we ended up putting straps with zip ties along the railings. We knew we were going down the wrong road. At this time, we contacted MassDOT, and by several letters, we sent to some senators and to the state, but we didn't really get too much back, and I think for the reason is because the state has hundreds, if not over 1,000 bridges, and I think the Yale Pond, this was one of the bridges that we weren't getting too much of a response on. So we knew that it was up to us, and we were heading down a road where we didn't want to go, so we wanted to go back to the drawing board, and we had to start all over again. So basically going down on the drawing board. So what had happened is we started in-house, and we designed our own bulkhead on the back of the bridge. And to the left shows a plan view of the clear opening of the stairwell with a concrete bulkhead, and to the right shows the bulkhead with a bulkhead door that we were going to install. This all went through the building department. We had the electrical inspector. We had to pull a permit, hired a local contractor. Also, we did some beam openings in the bridge portals. What had happened is the openings of the bridge was about maybe a foot above the wood down there where the channel water was. And what would happen is when we were getting the floods, the water was coming up and into the beam portals. So we designed some web openings with some rubber sheets behind it to stop as much as we could the water coming in. And also to the right, that's a proposed pumping system that we're proposing down there. They're proposing 2 4-inch pumps that can pump 300 gallons per minute, so they're good-sized pumps that will core through the side of the counterweight pit, is actually what it shows it in. And also what we're looking at doing is, this is a call-out system. What will happen is if the power goes out, or if the generator kicks on and the water gets too high in the pumps, what will happen is that'll call out to the highway department, and they'll have time to react to be able to get down before the second pump comes on. And also a generator is what we're looking at for auxiliary power. This happens to just be a Generac that the company, our maintenance contractor, spec'd out. And at this time, we wanted to put this into a debut to say, let's start putting this into motion, let's start to see what we got. So what we ended up having is, here's our portal plates that are going over the bridge. This photo is a little old because it shows the metal plate going up to the bottom of the girder. Actually, it goes up 3 feet higher than that now. It goes into the web plates with some rubber gaskets and some steel plates to stop the water from flowing into the portal pits, into the counterweight pit. This is the back of the tender's house. As you've seen at the beginning, we had the steel bridge railings there. They were all removed, and we had a local contractor, 2 local contractors. One installed the bulkhead, and the second one installed the diamond plate cover there for if there's a flood, the water comes up. That's a gasketed diamond plate cover. So this is what we wanted to propose on the outside. This is the Generac generator, and our maintenance contractor proposed this stand here for it's a stainless steel stand. So the proportional wise, that might be a little higher. It's going to be a little lower than that, but basically it's going to go in that side area next to that where that bulkhead door is going to be. That's the area it could fit. It has to go up in the air to be out of the floodplain. And as a possibility, it's all up to the electrical codes and plumbing codes, but as a possibility, there might be a way to put some kind of enclosure around it, either up over the top of the generator or just over the stand. You'll see the generator, but there's different areas you can do that. What we just showed is this could be like a type of nice wooden board fence, that quality fence, maybe something that could match the bridge tender's house. That's just an option, depending on the codes of what we can do. So just in conclusion, I just wanted to go through the items that we had. We have now a 24-hour emergency maintenance contractor on call. They can be down in 2 hours. We installed the beam portal coverings underneath the bridge at the girders. Concrete stairwell enclosures has been performed. The steel bulkhead door has been installed. A gas service connection this past spring when the National Grid was down working in Woods Hole, for them ripping up our roads, they allowed us to, we asked them to put the service in, and they did that while they were doing the work. Counterweight pit pumps, floats, and plumbing, that's what we're looking at performing in the upcoming months. High water alarm, this is where the call-out would come in. If there was an emergency, it would call out. Emergency cellular call-out. And the proposed standby generator. So that's what we're looking at. The top items up to the gas service has already been done, so those last 4 items is what we're looking at right now to see if we can do. There is a reimbursement by the FEMA to do mitigations for the bridge. We've already done this work. We've been reimbursed for the work that's been done. But we did an extension to the contract, to the project work order, and that's coming up at the end of the summertime. So as far as FEMA is concerned, they want to make sure in the later of the summer months that it gets done. But as far as public work is done, that we want to do, we want to see if we can get this done as soon as possible. We already have the maintenance contractor has already ordered the pumps and the alarms and all that information. The one thing that we're holding off on right now until we get approval with this is the generator in the stand.
Peter, why a gas generator and not an electric generator? What is the difference?
This is actually going to be, it's going to be a natural gas generator, so it's going to hook into street gas. So if you
Is
lose...
it because it's, but why not electrical?
It's replacing.
It's to replace electric. If electric goes out,
Well, that makes sense,
it'll
doesn't
be
it?
on electric. What happens is, the bridge tender's house, you would think that the electricity in-stock comes down Water Street and comes down this way and goes over the bridge. It doesn't. It goes down Millfield, comes up Albatross, and it comes up the other end. So this bridge tender's house is it's the very last, basically, building on the electric line. So if it did go out, then there would be no power there for that bridge. Currently, right now, is Public Works goes down there if there's an emergency. If there's a storm, Public Works, and they know about it, they'll go down and they have a generator in the back of their truck. There's times, this is not just for storms, there's also times that if there's high tides, astronomical tides, that the water can get into that pit and flood out. Actually, recently, if any types of storms, they've asked Mike, and Mike has actually stayed overnight, actually, or during the storm, to make sure everything was working and that the pumps are working in the basin. We have smaller pumps, but it's been keeping up to it. Like I say, luckily, in the last 2 years, we haven't had any bad storms.
Doug?
My question actually is on the generator. The other pieces I think make tons of sense. And if the flooding occurs, it really doesn't make any difference whether we have power or not. We're getting water in there. And this is taking care of that. What the generator is for isn't really when the flooding occurs, it's when power is out in the Woods Hole area.
Correct.
Are there other options we could consider, as in, you said that the DPW comes down with their own generator. Is there a way that we could get a portable generator kept in the fire station that we brought over? I mean, it seems like a lot of power. That big a generator just to run the power for that seems a little bit of overkill, and Mike would certainly know better than I would about these kinds of things, but it just seems a very large generator in a place that is heavily trafficked. It has its look. Certainly if we can't cover it with the wooden thing, I'd be really, really resistant to having that metal stand with a metal generator in a very, very nice looking part of the town.
Right. I totally understand that. I knew that there was going to be some concern about that area. So when I told the contractor, purchase everything except for the generator portion of it. I guess there could be some conversations about having a generator go and be placed down there. I just know that when the storm happens, Public Works pretty much uses everything it has. And for a call out, if someone calls out at 2 o'clock in the morning during a storm or during a hurricane, from Public Works to the bridge is a 20-minute ride, and I know that they already have their hands full doing other things in town. So it would have to be something that's already set up beforehand and ready to go.
That's what I was wondering if it could be a rollable one that was stored in either community hall or fire station. There's another possibility. It would certainly be less obtrusive and probably less expensive, too.
Yeah, it could be. Like I say, it could be. We had set up for it. We had put the gas meter in for it, and we had set up for it. We asked them to do this type. Ultimately, this is the best type of generator to have. If we did put one at the bridge, once again, we would have to know that the storm's coming. If there was an astronomical tide or the counterweight pit started filling up with water and we didn't know about it and the power went out, then we wouldn't have no pumps. This would automatically kick if the power went out. So it's not something that would be permanently, the portable wouldn't be something that would stay permanently there. It would be something in the building.
So you're saying power is a part of, the generator is part of the protection from the water getting in also.
Correct.
Well, certainly I hope the installation, we could work with the Woods Hole building group about.
Yeah, I wanted to mention, I had a call today from Kevin Murphy.
Yep.
And representing the Woods Hole Business Group and also Catherine. And they have asked that they would like to have a little bit of time to work more with you to see if we can't come up with some other accommodations, and that we bring this back for a vote on the 12th of January at our next meeting, if that's agreeable to everyone. And then the board can weigh in either now or during the 2 weeks or at the at the 12th, if the board agrees to extending our approval until the 12th, which is the very last date, because it really has to get done. But we can give them 2 weeks to work out something that's feasible to both the town and the business group.
I think the restrictions on with the generators is for all the generators. It has to be so far away from windows, so far away from combustible areas, with the electrical and the plumbing code. And if that can be met, then with the codes, that should be fine.
So maybe we, go ahead, Sue.
What is the total cost of this?
So what had happened is, we put this in our capital funds for a town meeting. So with the generator and the pumps all being installed, this came to about $65,000. That's for everything. That's for the cellular call out, the pumps, the crane, the cables, the coring, the piping, the generator, the hookup, the gas, test run, basically everything. So actually, it's pretty reasonable to, for assurance. And if this gets done under our FEMA, we have a possibility of getting 75% back under the mitigation. So that's what we're shooting for right now. Because what had happened is when the bridge went out, all the funds to bring this back up was over 120 grand just to bring it back to existing conditions, and that was taken all out of the director's funds that he had working on other accounts. We had since reauthorized some more money and moved some money around to bring that back, but that was a big chunk for us to come up with to bring it back to existing conditions.
Is there any possibility of tying into Huey's generator?
That's been mentioned. What it would be is underground conduits and coring, and I don't know where Huey's generator is. Something we can look at. I don't even know where the generator is or where it would be, but this would be, as far as trenching and cutting and coring, this would be minimal. This would be the minimal part of it, but I do understand the aesthetics look of it. So, like I say, this was just done. This was just shown as just as an option, but it's going to be high. It could be lower. This goes over the whole thing. It could be lower. So.
Madam Chair, can I make one comment?
Sure.
One of the things that possibly, I know this is not as to relocation, but one of the things aesthetically could be done is to match the color of the shingle on the bridge tender's house and make it that same gray color and the same design, so it would appear to be more compatible with the wooden, that part of the construction as well. Being this color, certainly it stands out. I know that's just a conceptual idea, but just one additional thought.
It's like I think the shingles on that is like a bleach, it's like a bleached color on it or something. Mm-hmm. It's like a bleached white. So there are options with it.
Becky?
Is that something that can be done? What was just suggested?
To match?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, this
we
is
could
just
have it,
for us to see.
This is just for okay. Visuals. We could bring someone in that would have to be able to stain just like the shingles that are on the.
And your recommendation is it has to be in that location for the service it's going to provide.
Yep.
So we just need to change that yellow covering over it.
And we need to give the Woods Hole Group a couple of weeks' time to take a look at it and see if they can come up with something.
Take a look and see what's.
And see if there are other options that haven't been thought of yet. So the motion tonight would come on taking it under advisement until January 12th.
So moved.
Second?
I'd be happy to support everything up to the generator if that helps Peter, though.
So what was that again?
I mean, I'd be happy to support everything else except for the generator if that helps you at all.
So what happens is, talking with the maintenance contractor, when you order the generator, it's about 6 to 8 weeks out. So it takes 8 weeks for the generator, and then coming in to schedule the contractor and get everything done. You're going to be into the springtime. Yeah. I was starting to push the spring towards the May, June, and we got to like the end of the summer months. So I just want to make sure we still fall within that time period. It's not super critical right now, but I just we have a month or two.
So what you're suggesting is we approve the generator so that he can purchase it, and then we take
What I was suggesting is every other item except for the generator, if that helps him at all to get that approved.
Yep.
And we just hold off on the generator until the 12th.
Just the other way around.
I mean, I think if we wait until the 12th, that after the holidays, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Be able
You're
to
still
come in.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, then why don't you make the motion?
Yeah.
We had a motion and a second.
Yeah, I move that we continue this,
Take it under advisement.
we'll take it under advisement until our January 12th meeting.
meeting. And we have a second on that.
Yes.
Catherine, is there anything you wanted to say?
Sure.
Just one quick second, just
Yeah.
as I had the time, I just wanted, I think Heather already hit the screen up, but I just wanted to say, from Public Works, we just want to wish everybody season's greetings and happy holidays from all your
You're
friends.
big on Christmas this year, Peter.
And I think if you hit it a couple of times, it has the, from the administration, yep, engineering, highway,
That's good.
it's coming right out of the roof, parks, facilities,
Coming right out.
wastewater and water, there's 7 divisions, so we wish everybody happy holidays, and we thank you for your support.
One of the
Well,
best
thank you very much,
presentations.
Peter.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Catherine.
I'm Catherine Bumpus from the Woodsville Community Association, and I'd like to thank Peter because he sent an email last week saying this was going to be on the agenda, and can we go back to that? And we met on site this morning and talked about it. My immediate reaction is aesthetic. Standing here with Peter, you can't actually see over how high that fence would be. It would be taller than I am. I have a hard time believing that's 4 feet because I think this is closer to 4 feet. But so I really love some time to go through this a little bit on site and see if there's any possibility of doing something different. I'm not sure a fence will actually make it any better, no matter what color it is.
Oh.
The other issue is we're putting a brand new piece of town equipment in the velocity zone. Can you go back one more, Heather? Maybe not. A couple. Oh, sorry, all the bullets are there. I'm not quite sure what the elevation of the bottom of this is, but if you look, when I pulled out my old set of bridge plans, this is a 2.6 meter elevation, which gets you almost to 9 feet, but this is the V zone. So the V zone elevation would require closer to 15 feet of elevation. We are spending a significant chunk of money to solve a problem that has been created by having machinery in a flood zone, by putting more machinery in the flood zone. So that's just one of those other challenging problems of this
Can I ask
site.
a question on that point of Peter? Would there be any engineering possibility of making it look kind of like a lighthouse, but putting the generator, like, in other words, reinforcing the top of the building, so it wouldn't have to be something that's kind of in your face? Is there any possibility of, in other words, if you took the design of that table and made it like a roof reinforcement, and then you could put the generator, it would sustain the weight of the generator, and design a screen that would almost look lighthouse, like you could even maybe light it if code would permit. But I'm thinking that would be higher, that would solve the height issue. I'm just throwing that out there for the next couple weeks' consideration.
It can be considered. I think you'd be basically taking the roof off and putting the roof on to get the structural on it to hold the generator. But, because that's actually a hip roof. It slopes up. It's not a flat roof on the top. It slopes up. So, and even with doing all these flood controls, I mean, if we get a category 2, all calls, I mean, in 2009, this bridge had 0 for flood control, absolutely 0. And we asked for this, but the state, I think, working with the state, they had their ideas, and we actually asked for putting these bulkheads on, but they had other ideas. But in 2009, this had 0%. This will at least bring us up to 80%, 75, 80%. But if you can start getting into some heavy, big storms.
I'm starting to like the plug idea from the fire station.
So.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks very much. So we have a motion and a second?
Yes,
Right?
I second it.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much, and we'll see you back in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Spencer.
The next item is a sign variance.
I think it's
This is a sign variance for replacing an existing street sign at Falmouth Food Mart and Liquors at 414 East Falmouth Highway, East Falmouth. Are you Mr. Maroney?
I am.
Yes, good evening.
Good
I want to let the board know, I'm sure that you have already read the documents that we have here. We do have a letter from the Design Review Committee, and they have informed us that that this sign can't be grandfathered, and it must be conformed to the current sign code of freestanding signs, which limits the sign area to 16 square feet. The DRC voted unanimously to deny this request and to refer the matter to the selectmen for a variance if the selectmen obviously opted to do that. The committee also recommends the selectmen deny the request. The sign is one of the old remaining signs in Falmouth that hasn't as yet been reduced to the terms of the sign code. So there is also no need for a huge sign at this location at a major intersection with traffic lights. The traffic must at least slow down and may easily read a smaller sign. There's also a second sign that's without a permit located on the same road between this sign and the traffic lights. And it lists the other businesses located at the corner. They're suggesting that that sign be removed as well, and it could be combined, and this sign could be combined with the main sign, such as some other signs, those ladder signs that we have seen around town. So we've seen such signs with the top for the major business and below the other businesses. The second sign on the permit is a wall sign, and it is within the bylaws. So those are the recommendations from design review. So Mr. Maroney, please.
Thank you. I was brought into this thinking it was a simple job of changing a couple of sign faces and rehabbing somewhat the existing 17-foot sign. And the Design Review Committee was very clear about the fact that that wasn't going to happen. It's important that the Falmouth Food Mart have good visibility from the highway, and on the very last page, I did a very, very quick sketch, which is to scale, that shows the existing sign on the left and its size, and what we would be proposing this evening as a replacement, which conforms to the 16 square feet and so forth, using the existing pole and remodeling it and refashioning it to make it more compact and make it something much more attractive, because certainly a good sign is a sign of good business. And the old three-way liquor sign, although it served its purpose well for 48 years, is tired and needs rehab. I wasn't aware until Friday evening that the second sign that you can see in the first picture, behind the three-way liquor sign, it's shown in the parking lot, and it appears like it's been moved there temporarily during some construction. And don't know the history, nobody's taken credit for it, I didn't have any part of it. And we'd be happy to see it gone myself, but that's from a sign maker's perspective.
Right.
And we're trying to simply find a way to accommodate the law, the codes in the town, and advertise a new business that's taken over for three-way liquors.
Well, personally, I think your redraw of the sign is not bad. It's really nice. Have the owners approved this redrawing of the sign or redesigning?
The owners of the liquor store, Falmouth Food Mart and Liquor, have approved that. And they, as part of their lease, control that particular sign and the little 18 square foot.
So you mean they've approved your revision of the sign?
Yes.
That you bring, because we don't need to approve this if it meets the sign code.
Well,
The Design Review Committee would have to again.
Yeah, I mean, if this meets the sign code, what you come to us for is a
I came to you for a variance.
for the variance for this,
And
for the first sign.
I made that application back in December, beginning of December, and all of this has been going on.
Since
Most of the information I have today, I found out today. So people haven't been very forthcoming with some of the information. They've tried hard, but it gets lost because people don't want to take credit for a new illegal sign and condition of existing signs and so forth. So we're just trying to find a way to make it blend. And I did speak with the owners of the food mart and liquor operation, and he suggested, or I suggested to him, that we take another tack. And this has not been to the sign review committee at all. But this would take in one sign and take care of all of the signage needs from a road perspective and fall well within the zone, within the sign bylaws. And in fact, the shopping mall is allowed, I think, 40 feet for a main sign on the highway.
So this is like a ladder sign, as we would
This would be a
refer to
ladder
it?
sign.
So the other stores could put their signage in here?
The other stores could. There are 11 tenants there, and there's space for 5 of them on 2 sides.
And then where would this be located?
That would replace the three-way liquor sign up on the island.
And we'll get rid of the, if we get our way, we'd get rid
Except
of the
that-
other sign also.
I'm sorry?
And would ideally get rid of the other sign that's illegal also.
Well, the other sign is a matter of enforcement. It doesn't belong there.
Exactly.
And the three-way liquor sign would be gone and be replaced by that, which,
Well, if this actually meets the sign code, then I would think you would have to go back to the design review committee, because this wouldn't be under our purview if it's a sign.
I was at that
Although I like
meeting.
it.
I was at that meeting with the design review, and there seems to be more complications because there's a lot going on at that corner.
Right.
And also, I think you wanted a rooftop? Did you want a rooftop sign?
no, there was somebody
Okay, there was
else
the other, okay.
within the
There's a
complex.
lot of discussion about signs at that corner, and can you use the existing land where the signs are now after all of this construction goes on? So it's almost as if the cart is in front of the horse. I know they want new signs, and they want to keep the business as it is, but this definitely could not, I mean, if they haven't seen it in design review, we couldn't do anything with this.
No,
one.
we can,
This is informational for the
Right.
board.
Right.
And it was clear,
All
my
right.
intention would be to go back to them once I got a sense of what the board was looking for and what the bylaws would allow.
Quick question, Madam Chair. Is there a response from the zoning enforcement officer or design review on, I see it was requested, and I see it looks like from the packet, the only review opinion was given from design review.
Right.
Okay.
They referred it to us because it's a variance.
Right, no, I understand.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the other two reviews, one from building, one from zoning.
It's only design review.
Okay,
In other words,
that's fine,
if-
so there's nothing else
I have been,
before us
I've
today.
met several
Okay.
times with
No,
Ollie
Okay.
Fitzpatrick, and we've discussed the law and how it applies.
Yeah, the only time
Okay.
it comes to us is if they want a sign larger than what's in the sign code. We don't deal with the enforcement or that, but if they come in with a sign that's larger than what's allowed, then we have to grant a variance. Or if for signs that the sign code doesn't allow, like sometimes we have signs that we agree to put up for 30 days because of certain events. But if this sign meets the sign code, then they can take that back to design review and we won't see it again.
I see.
But the question I would have was whether Ollie Fitzpatrick has made efforts to enforce what the design review committee said is an illegal sign. That, that was sent to Eladio, that other sign needs to be removed.
Right.
And that's not the situation for Mr. Maroney, but that sign needs to go.
This is the
We
time
have
to
the
get that done.
design review committee knows it's illegal, Eladio knows it's legal, and so that should be removed first. And then there's even more reason to put in
It's
the
clearly an
ladder sign
enforcement
really
issue
pedestrian.
with the building department, and I'm sure they'll
Right.
take whatever necessary steps.
So we should
It
have
happens
the,
all the time, whenever someone's trying to put up a sign in an area, all the hidden ones pop up quickly.
Exactly.
Part of the problem
Right.
with this site is that there's construction going on, and it's congested, and it's clouded, and nobody quite knows what's going on and when it's going to get on.
right,
And he's just trying to go forward with his business and clean up what's there
Right.
in a professional, attractive way, and go forward.
Is this within a local historic district? Yes or no wasn't circled?
I don't believe it is.
Okay.
No.
And I
Thank
don't
you.
think there's anything about the sign, even though it was built in 1966, that it would be.
Okay.
historically significant, or we could declare it a landmark, but it could be a landmark eyesore at this point, but
Couldn't it?
it needs work.
Okay. So,
I will go back to the design review committee and see if we can come up with
very
a
good.
design that meets their criteria and
Excellent.
go forward with it.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your time. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. And now we have a very short list of the approval of annual liquor license renewals. You will notice that the police chief and the fire chief have reviewed these, and none of these come under any concerns of those two departments. So,
Do you want a list of them, or do you want to just
I think
approve them
it's
as
up to
listed
you.
to us?
Sam?
Can I ask you a question? Because you say that, but Seaside Auto Sales did not show up in the list from Sean Doyle, or Lieutenant Doyle. Is that just an oversight? That's all I'm asking.
The very last one.
Yeah, the very last one. Did
Yeah,
not
it looks like it fell off.
And that's fine, if that's all it was.
What about them?
In other words, the list on the notice has one extra, as opposed to Lieutenant Doyle has 4 classified Class 2 used car dealers that...
Oh, that are not on our list.
So Seaside
No.
Auto Sales does not appear to be listed on Lieutenant Doyle's letter.
Oh, I see.
Nor is, there are a few entertainment ones that are missing too. The 2 coffee obsessions aren't listed, the Whistler Golf Clubs aren't listed.
Well, normally, we don't even get that. See, we asked them to review in case there were matters pending.
Right.
And it was only, like, there are a couple of license holders where we have to have public hearings for them because of certain violations in the past. But if there weren't any violations, then there would be no reason not to approve these.
And that's all I was looking for, was
Yeah.
some reassurance that there wasn't a reason that they didn't put them on their recommendation.
On the list?
So, and if there
Well,
has,
if you want to pull those from the list, we can hold those and send them back.
no, I'm not really suggesting we do that. I'm just asking where there are reasons for them excluding it from their recommendation. And if we don't know of any, I'm willing to go with the list proposed to the selectmen.
Well, we're not aware of any with this group.
Okay, that's good enough for me. Thank you.
So if someone wants to make a motion.
I would move approval of the licenses as the list we have before us.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Did the selectmen have any reports tonight? Sam?
Just 2 items. I attended the Conservation Commission meeting last Wednesday, on the 17th. They held a hearing on the Coonamessett River project. It was presented by the consultant Interlude and also by Betsy Gladfelder. And I know that Rebecca and I went and toured that site, and that's probably going to come before us at some point, but there were lots of constructive questions asked by the commissioners and also by people attending the hearing. And most of them had to do with changing the channel and potentially creating problems for the existing migrating fish. So they took it all under advisement, and they said they were going to go back and review things. It has to do with water depth and pooling of water and that sort of thing. But anyway, it was an excellent hearing, and it looks like the project's going to be a very worthwhile project for the town. And the other thing I attended was the town employees luncheon on Thursday. Several
Christmas.
of the rest of us,
Yeah.
and that was an enjoyable occasion. So, and I'd like to take the opportunity to wish everybody a happy holiday.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I would just add on to what Sam said. I think it's going to be one of our new hotspots. I think there's a lot of potential in that area, and it's good that the Conservation Committee is behind it and moving along with it. There's going to be some wonderful things for the residents of Falmouth. But I think my meetings were basically, we were all of the same ones. We went to the one concerning the safety of schools, whether we vote or not, and I think we were all there. So. And then I did go to the design review. So I think that's better.
Doug?
I attended the meeting that Julian went to present to the Recreation Committee with the discussion of the location of the Consolidated Dispatch Center. And he, I think, made an excellent presentation to them as to the things that we're considering as to where that needs to go. Also attended the Golf Advisory Committee, and we're moving forward in trying to figure out exactly what we're going to be doing next year with Billy Casper. And then tried to attend the Library Trustees meeting one week, and they postponed it, so I had to go next week and had a very good discussion with them on some issues, and I think they will be coming back to us fairly soon.
Town Manager's report?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As a reminder, Selectmen will be meeting at 6 p.m. on Monday, January 5th for a public presentation on the proposed FY16 operating budget. We'll be joined by town department heads for the purpose of answering questions which may arise. This will be the only item on the January 5th agenda. At this point, that's all we anticipate. At your regular business meeting on the following Monday, January 12th, the board will consider action to transmit this FY16 budget to the Finance Committee for their review and deliberation. As per the town charter, this budget is due to the Finance Committee on or before January 16th. I'm pleased to confirm to members of the board that the lengthy formal application from the town for the licensing of Knobska Light Station was transmitted via certified mail to the U.S. Coast Guard last Thursday. That is well before the January 5th deadline. That is as authorized by this board to move forward. My thanks once again to the many volunteers from 4 of our nonprofit entities who worked with me so diligently in this extraordinary effort. I want to thank Diane Davidson for the assistance with copying the lengthy application, handling the mailing as well. I thank my colleague, Assistant Town Manager Heather Harper, for her assistance with that important process. And by the way, a file copy of this application is available for selectmen to review. It is very lengthy, as I know you're aware. It is in the selectman's office. And as this has been filed, now we wait and await the determination of the Coast Guard as to our licensing application. Thank you to all for the support, and particularly that of the Board of Selectmen, allowing us to move forward with this very extraordinary initiative. Also in closing, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year to all residents, and thank you to the board.
Thank you. And Doug?
I had a question on correspondence. I did see in the paper that Matt McNamara has resigned, according to the paper, from the zoning board. Have we received, do we need to receive official notification of that?
According to our policy, we should. I don't know if we have.
By policy, we should. I don't know whether that's been received.
I think we have
We'll double check
received
that.
it, yeah. I think we have received it, but you can double check. I'm
And
pretty
we
sure.
should thank him for his service.
Yes,
Indeed,
very
absolutely.
definitely.
Many years. The changes he's made to the zoning board, really streamlining and getting it to a very consistent manner has been fantastic.
Actually, he has, and I got an email from him mentioning it as well, and I sent him an email back doing exactly that.
Thank you.
Thanking him for his service and for all the work he did with policies and procedures for the zoning board. But I'm not sure, we must have gotten the letter. I just got a copy of it by email.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I should have said that. And I wish everyone as well a very Merry Christmas and a most Happy New Year. And we will be back next year on January 5th, dealing with the budget of all things. So, a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, Mark.